How strongly do you feel about the start? I mean, not just the wins, but the way the team won them.
Yeah, I mean it's early days, but so far so good. I thought, especially this last weekend, we were pretty clean. You know, we were in control of a lot of the things that we could control in terms of our effort and our execution, and I think that showed in terms of the result.
Going on this road trip, how do you look at it? Obviously, everybody on the outside looks at it as, you know, you're a powerhouse. You're going out facing a couple of programs that are pretty dang good. We're going to use it as a measuring stick. Will you?
I think it's just another week to learn and get better. I mean, I get it. There's maybe a different context to frame these matches, but you know, for us, the first thing we got to do is get ready for conference play, and we think the preseason's a really important part of that. So, yeah, two good teams, but I think that's about all we want to assign to it, because it is, after all, September, and season finishes sometime mid-December, so there's still a lot to go.
All right. So that's what the coach feels. How do the players feel?
I would say the same way. You know, we just kind of look at it one game at a time, one match at a time. You know, just focus on what we need to do, what's ahead of us. You know.
Hugh, you haven't always been a fan of the #1 ranking, particularly early in the season. How do you?
Well, I don't think I'm not a fan of it. I mean, there are clearly worse problems to have.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're not. I mean, but again, that's someone else's stuff. It certainly doesn't have to be our stuff. I think for us, the continual commitment to becoming the best team we can be, and then we'll see if that's good enough or if it isn't. Yeah.
Stephanie, how did the team react when you heard that, and then how do you guys approach being #1?
I mean, we kind of thought it was cool, but you know, we just have to. We kind of keep the right mindset and think about the fact that, you know, like Hugh said, it's still September and like things change and programs grow throughout the season. So just trying to focus on what we need to do to continue to grow as a team.
Hugh, over these first 5 matches, what have you seen about your team that you really like?
Well, the depth we discussed at the beginning in the preseason is certainly something that seems to be part of this team. Lots of players that can contribute lots of ways. So that, I think, has been a real positive, and I think there's a lot of big things that we have in place in terms of the way we play. I think there's a lot of refinement that has to happen, but I think there's some of the foundational pieces are already pretty solid. So that's a nice place to start from.
What are some of those foundational pieces that you like the most that can be pillars for this team moving through the season?
Well, I think so far the serve and pass part of the game seems to be pretty steady. You know, I think our offense, there are some things we can do that we weren't able to do a year ago. I think we're not all firing on all cylinders yet, but I think there's some good stuff happening there. So yeah, you know, if we can serve and pass inside out, that generally lends itself to being able to play at a reasonable level.
When you have so many players coming back off a successful season, are you able to start at a higher level right from the get-go, and have you seen that?
I mean, certainly you could ask Steph how it felt, but I thought that we were able to, you know, at least in preseason and even up to this point, I think we were ahead of where we were a year ago. What that means in terms of where we get to in December, who knows? But it felt like we were able to talk about bigger things, you know, more advanced things than just, you know, the fundamentals. What do you think, Steve? Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. There you go. You can't refute that, right? You can't.
Stephanie, what are your thoughts on where this team is right now? How much has the team learned over these first 5 matches, and what are some of the things that you might want to work on going forward?
I think our team, from day one, like to where we are now, we've grown a lot. Just growing as a team in like the aspects of like culture-wise and then volleyball-wise, we just keep growing each day. I think we still have a lot to learn, of course, because that's just, you know, we want to keep getting better, so that's just the route you have to take. But, yeah, that's where we're at.
And I think it's important to understand, I think what Stephanie's talking about can be deemed as being fairly cliche, but, you know, this team's very real. I mean, the connections are authentic. The care and concern that they have for each other is genuine. It's a great group in that regard.
Stephanie, how nice is it to have so much depth on the team, to know that if one person isn't on top of their game in a particular match, there's somebody else that can pick up for them?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to know that there's so many players that can do so many things and contribute in so many different ways to the team. That's cool.
Hugh, is there an optimal number of players that you would like to have involved on a regular basis?
Not at this point. I think we just figure that out as we go along. I think you know, every year the puzzle probably looks the same. You know, how you want it to look when you put all the pieces together, but every year the pieces are different. So we're still trying to figure out what pieces we've got here. But yeah, I don't think there's a magic number.
So you guys have been pretty good defensively, especially this past Saturday when you guys had 23.5 blocks. Reagan Pittman was kind of a huge factor in that. Do you want to comment on her play so far this year?
I think she's done really well. I think there's been a big shift in her performance from a year ago. She's starting to become a force at the net, and that's what we've hoped for all along. So yeah, she's starting to realize her potential.
Stephanie is playing right beside her. What do you see in her? Change between last year and this year?
I would just say the energy that she brings to the team is a big, you know, bonus for our team. You know, it really adds to our culture, and just to know that she has our backs and we have her back, just having that chemistry is pretty awesome.
Coming in together at the same time together, do you think you guys kind of grew up together with both having 1 year under your belt? Did you both kind of learn some of the same stuff?
Well, actually, she was here she's a redshirt sophomore, so she was here a year before Stephanie. So yeah, I'm sure they've shared a wonderful journey of learning and growth, but
Yeah.
they weren't doing it concurrently.
Stephanie, is there a little extra excitement towards this weekend, knowing that this is a chance to really test yourselves against two ranked teams and on the road for the first time?
I mean, I think it'll be a good experience for us to see how we do traveling away. But like Hugh says, you know, we're just going to play volleyball. We always respect our opponents, but we also just kind of focus on what we need to do to get the win that we want. So.
Right on. Thanks, everybody.
Thank